Hey guys, and welcome to Your Beautiful Day. I'm Jen Mogg, Mother of Gratitude. And with me today are my co host, Neil Haley. Hey, Neil.
Hey, what's going on?
How are you?
Good, doing well. Always excited about our guest. And go ahead and
Oh,
introduce our other great co-host.
And my personal coach and best friend, Pearl Sharenza.
Hey
Hey, Pearl.
everybody, I'm so excited to be here. One of my favorite subjects today, of course, is always around food. So I'm excited to be here and take it away, Jen.
Oh my gosh, I am so happy. I love these moments of gratitude that we can help each other have throughout our life and throughout our day. And one of them today is an amazing woman named Monti Carlo. She's a Puerto Rican chef and a Food Network personality. And you can just binge and binge and binge watching all the really cool stuff on Food Network, especially with her forte. So without ado, welcome to the show, Monty.
Hi guys, thank
Hey,
you
how
so
are you
much
guys?
for having me. This is really
Absolutely.
cool.
Monty, it just brings me back to I can't believe it's almost been a year since the first shutdown and how food became such an important thing to everyone's lives, especially when everything was shut down and we're cooking our own meals every day and try to make it an exciting day. Can you believe it's been a year? I still can't fathom it.
Yeah, I actually had that moment this weekend where I was, like where you start crying because you're like, I can't believe how much life has changed. And like, can't believe I made it through a whole year of this, but we did. Hurrah for us. We did it. Do you remember when
Exactly.
everyone thought it was going to be like 3 weeks?
I knew that wasn't happening. I thought the whole world was ending and it was like everything shut down just like that. And I feel for people, our viewers and listeners in Europe, because oh my gosh, because I'm on Clubhouse all the time and I'm hearing these stories of Europe and more shutdowns. So I think we're very lucky that we haven't had to go completely shut down after the first one, really. So that's good.
And for me, Monty, what was really disheartening for me is I do an annual pajama retreat and we had a place booked in Puerto Rico. We were supposed to go to Puerto Rico. And first we had to cancel because you guys had the earthquake. And then we had to cancel because of COVID. And the guy there, our VRBO, he was amazing. I was like, oh, it's like, just come back. I'm like, we'll be back. I promise.
Are you my favorite right now, Pearl? Like a pajama party in Puerto Rico? Is that what you said? Because that's amazing. That's like magic. I
We're
love
coming. Jen and I are going to bring it there. But one of the things I love about what you're doing is, first of all, I want to ask you, tell us about the being on Gordon, the place in Fifth, I think it was, of Gordon Ramsay.
Yeah, MasterChef. It was almost 10 years ago. It was a moment that completely changed my life. When I first met Gordon, I didn't really have any understanding of who he was. I literally tried out for the show because my friend told me that if I made it on camera for a reality show audition, I'd get $50. And I was broke at the time and I was facing homelessness. So I was like, I need that $50. And yeah, I actually made it onto the show. They told me that you could get $250,000. So, it was game on at that point, and I
Wow.
did my
Wow.
best to try and win it. But I ended up winning in the end. I didn't win the title of Master Chef, but Gordon taught me the most important lesson of my entire life, which was, to never give up. And that's taken me really far.
I think and I think watching that show, I think you could say that like a lot of people probably could say that same thing because they persevere and they don't give up. And that's just amazing. So did you pay your friend back the $50?
No, I should. I totally should.
See, she could have bought that in Bitcoin. So there you go.
Oh my God, don't get me started on Bitcoin. I literally sold my Bitcoin right before it like broke. So I'm like,
Oh my gosh. See, it's so funny, but I'm just very concerned for people because what if it just crashes like anything? We just see the craziest things happen. It's COVID last year, Bitcoin's so great, and then it all crashes and people didn't sell in time. That's always my concern. I'm hearing all these people investing. Well, the second time I invested, I said, well, what if it shows the same volatility again? So that's a good point for sure.
Yeah.
if it does, I'm totally buying again.
Yeah. Yeah. Amen. I'm right there with you.
Go ahead, Jen. Move to the next question. Yeah.
Absolutely. I love that. Tell me about going on to Gordon Ramsay, because I love his show. I mean, aside from Never Giving Up, what was like day one versus the week at the end of the week? What was that process like?
Well, I'd never been on TV before, in any real way. So it was really bizarre to have all these cameras following you around, because they're right up in your face. And I'd never been away from my son. He was 2 years old at the time. We'd never spent a day apart at that point. And I didn't understand that I wouldn't be allowed to see him for some reason. I thought because I lived in LA and the show was being filmed in LA that I would just get to go back home at the end of the day and hang out with my kid. But that was not the case. We were sequestered for 9 weeks without any contact. And so, of course, the producers were always like, do you miss your kid? And I would start crying. So if you're watching the show, if you ever watch the show, I basically cry every episode because they're asking me about my kiddo behind the scenes. But it was an incredible experience. I didn't consider myself anything close to being a master chef when I first started on the show. I really had only a couple of recipes down pat, but I buckled down and literally was reading like entire cookbooks, by night and then competing during the day. And it really taught me to believe in myself. It was crazy. I was going through a really rough time. I had just wrapped up a divorce and my best friend had been shot in cold blood. And,
Oh no.
I was dealing with the financial crises. So I was in a bad place, mentally, emotionally. But Gordon didn't care. He didn't care. He's like, you better cook for your life. And like it taught me, it's like, it doesn't matter what's going on, stay focused on what it is that you want to achieve and don't let anything stop you. And he taught me that. So it was an incredible moment of growth for me, for sure.
Yeah, and I think so many of us can learn from that lesson about, it doesn't, life's going to go on no matter what's thrown at, and even we lose somebody like you did, horrific, we're still here, right? We still have to move forward. And so where did your quirkiness come with your comedic kind of cooking and combining that? I just love your post and just you've got such a fun way of showing food and promoting what you're doing. Are you always been a comedian, or where did that come from?
I actually, you know what? Thank you for knowing that. I did comedy for about 8 years. I don't ever really talk about it that much. So thank you for knowing that, Pearl. That's awesome. But I was a radio personality for many, many moons. And I also did comedy on the side. And it was just I started doing comedy just to develop my radio voice. Do you know what I mean by voice? Is your character, your personality.
Yes.
As you guys know, it's important to be able to engage the audience, and nothing teaches you faster what engages and what doesn't engage than standing with one mic in a room full of 200 drunk people. Immediately you're going to learn like, oh, okay, this is funny, this isn't. So it was comedy was definitely one of the most amazing experiences of my life. But I can't do that anymore. I got a kiddo, so I can't be hanging out at the comedy club all night.
Monti, when you talk about radio personality, is that what you majored in or was involved in? How did you get involved in radio?
Oh, so I wanted to be. Do you guys remember MTV's Want to Be a VJ?
Yes.
Yes, I wanted to be a VJ. I was like, this is it. That's what I want. Jen's like, yes, I see you, queen. I wanted to be a VJ too. I wanted to do it, but I failed miserably at it. So I was living in Atlanta at the time, and I decided to enroll in a broadcasting school. It was TV and radio. And I ended up falling in love with radio because I could go to work in my pajamas. I got hired in my Batman pajamas.
That's why.
Okay.
That's why I wish that we never went to the whole video thing. And I'm talking in video now. That's why I love Clubhouse. And I don't know if you're on Clubhouse yet.
Oh, I love Clubhouse.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
How do you think Clubhouse is going to affect radio? I've been wondering.
I think it's going to hurt radio. It's not going to hurt podcasting. It's going to hurt radio because now instead of listening to Spotify and different things, I just live Clubhouse and create my own life. on Clubhouse. And Pearl say it. She sees me go into these big rooms. She sees me moderating rooms of 100 people. And so it's just like perfect for me. Add teaching component, Monty, to I'm a former teacher, add the speaking component and the radio component, and it's like the perfect thing. I'm even on another voice app too that's just launched out in Germany called Dive. I'm one of 1,000 on that, testing that app out too. But I want Twitter Spaces, and I also want the Instagram one. So I don't know if you've tried either of those yet. Are you doing the pilot for Twitter Spaces
I
yet?
haven't really. I mean, I did Clubhouse way too much, for how when you first start, you're like on it like every single hour of the day. So then I was like, okay, I'm gonna rein it in a little bit, because I'm writing a book right now, and so I was on Clubhouse instead of writing, and that's never a good idea.
Yeah, you got to figure out how your times when you go on, because it's so addicting. I guess.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so Monty, what you're talking about Clubhouse, so and what Neil was saying, for me, what it's been amazing is like I actually was able to pod in a room. I was like, wow, I was in these with these people are doing very well in life, but they make you feel like you're just another just as good as they are, right? And so it's been
you are just as good as they are. Don't say that.
Oh no, I trust me, I'm better than they are. Trust me. I'm better than they are. But my point is, like, I would have never been able to have those connections without that Clubhouse, right? And so it's actually taking me away from being so much on the Facebook side. I still do that for my business, but I'm making more connections in the Clubhouse side. And in fact, Neil, I haven't had a chance to tell Neil and Jen, I've had 3 people reach out to me and be a brand ambassador and want to send me product to promote it. So I know I'm doing something right.
Yeah, it's a gold mine. We'll go right to the kind of, so back to you're saying your book. We'll have to talk about that later, Monty. And this is what's funny is Monty and I have been communicating, not with the publicist, just Monty and I emailing. So I think I like that, Monty, because then I'm like, okay, we'll stay in touch for sure. And this will not be just the first time she'll come on any of the shows that I produce and stuff. Go ahead, Jen, with the next question. So we'll reel back Clubhouse, but that's become a conversation for people in so many ways. Go ahead, Jen. And Jen just joined, and she joined last week, and then she jumped in some of my rooms already. So it's interesting. But go ahead, Jen, with the next question.
Well, yeah, because Gratitude Radio Network is launching on St. Patrick's Day. So yeah, I'm really proud of it. I love Island Girl.
Hey, thanks for being. You guys are awesome.
And my girlfriend, I have friends that's like, it's a small world. Expect the United Nations at my house, and that's just me. And one of my girlfriends called me up and said, I'm taking you to the market and we're making sofritos.
Oh, sofrito. Are you going to make sofrito?
I'm down to 1 bag, girlfriend, 1 bag. And I have to go back to the market. And then my gym is full of all island boys. And so they're having conversations on who's going to whose house, because it's like they're going to spend a day making this stuff.
Oh, yeah. It's, you know what? There's nothing like having your island flavors. It just takes you right back home. It really does. And it's difficult because, on the mainland, there aren't a lot of Puerto Rican restaurants, and the ones that are around, they aren't always quite as comforting as you'd like them to be. I'm trying not to be rude, but it's so for me, like being able to cook my island cuisine at home and be able to share it with people, and I just had a lady today made my coconut oatmeal, and she was like, it's like being back in my grandma's house, my abuela's house. And that's such a compliment to me. 1, that you made my recipe, but 2, that it did what I wanted it to do, which is to take you back home to the island. Thank you for checking out my website.
Well, it's once you've had coconut oatmeal, it's kind of hard to figure out what the heck are the Americans doing. Like once you have island coconut, I used to have a house in the Bahamas, so I loved all of the Bahamian food and all of the island foods that everybody mixes together. Once you have something that is so authentic, you're like, what the heck? It's just making, and I'm going to say this wrong, sofritos. Am I saying that right?
Sofrito.
Sofrito, and putting that in turkey for Thanksgiving was eye-opening. Like,
Oh wait, are you talking about mofongo, or sofrito is a flavor base? So it's basically like a pureed pepper and onion and garlic and cilantro. But mofongo is the mashed plantain, and a lot of times
no
that's put
plantain.
in the turkey.
No plantains in the turkey. We did those separate, but we had it so that it goes into, for you guys, it goes into everything. I mean, you make this, and we did a rough cut instead of doing the puree for it. Do the rough cut and then put it into all of your meats and vegetables and use it as a base. And it's like
Yeah,
food of the gods.
yeah, it's
Just
like the French have mirepoix, and we have sofrito. It's just like the most amazing. It just really brings a really
Right.
strong foundation of flavor, you know.
So I have a question. So your son is how old now?
He's 11. I can't believe
I was
I
gonna say, I thought you said,
11 years.
does he have the flavor of food for like you do? Like, is he following in your footsteps when it comes to food and cooking?
Oh my goodness, he loves to chow. Like, this is what we do for fun. Is we go back before the pandemic, we would go and do these like bakery tours. So we'd go like to all these different like weird little bakeries all over LA, and taste food from all these different cultures, because this is like the best city for that. There's all sorts of different cool little places that you can check out. I love the fact that I remember him. He was like 8 years old, and I had his little friends from his school class, and I took him to a French bistro, and he ordered escargot, and his friends were like, "Ew, snails!" And he was like, "You don't like snails?" I was like, yeah, you're definitely you're a little adventurous foodie person. I love it.
That's
Now, interesting. So you, after the competition with Gordon, where did the career go next? Because again, we're just kind of starting that process, right? You did not win, but you learned so much. What was the next step in your
I
career?
actually, so I was, I had been looking for work in radio for over 2 years at the point when I ended up on MasterChef, and I filled out like 300 different applications. And while I was on the show, I got an email from a station in Phoenix that wanted to hire me. And then it was like, a week later, how come you're not answering? And then a week after that, what is the deal? Do you not want this job? You know what I mean? And so then I couldn't tell them where I had been. But the program director ended up hiring me, and I went to Phoenix right after MasterChef. And there's such an incredible food culture in Phoenix, which I was really surprised by. And I ended up doing radio there for almost 2 years, and just entrenching myself in the food culture there. And then I finally was inspired to, just make a go of it, and just start my life in food, period. So I went back to LA, and I started a catering company. And I started working in kitchens all over LA, staging, which is sort of what you call, interning. You're not getting paid, but you're
Right.
learning a lot, and auditioning for food shows. And I ended up getting cast on a food show for FYI called Make My Food Famous as the host.
ooh,
And that's kind of how my food TV career got kicked off, doing hosting gigs. It was bananas.
So it helped having that background in radio, right? For
Oh
hosting
yeah.
gigs.
I mean,
Completely.
well, it helped also on MasterChef. I think radio teaches you so much. I mean, you guys know. It really
Yeah,
teaches you how to tell a story, because you can't rely on, video and pictures. You really have to know how to tell that story, and you have to know how to do it live. There's no do-overs, So it really helped in so many things, especially when it comes to hosting, because when you can nail it in one take, producers love you.
exactly. And yet it's something where if you, and that's the thing, especially if you, would you have cue cards, or you have to memorize everything when you would do it?
When I'm doing food
Yeah.
hosting,
Yeah.
I mean, there's no cue cards. Sometimes there's a teleprompter, but mostly, you're walking down the street and talking to the camera and telling them what you're about to do. So it's really about being in the moment and, doing the walk and talk and staying in frame and just being able to engage in that way. But what I love about radio is that it teaches you how to talk in like these 7-second increments. You know what I mean? Like it teaches you how to engage right away and hook people. And so I was able to do that with my walk and talks for Food TV. We are so nerding out right now, guys.
I love it. I absolutely love it because again, that's the thing. And I like the 7 seconds, and people on what I've been talking about at other times when you perform is people don't understand that 7 seconds, boom, go to the next. That's why I'm such a radio guy more than a podcaster, even though I'm really kind of jumping into the podcasting. Even though I've been a podcaster for 11 years, I always consider myself a radio and TV host. But I'm like, guess what? I got the podcasters have a lot to work on because they don't understand. It's quick to the point and tell a story, go to the next thing. Don't talk on and on or let the person talk on and on. Okay, so Jen.
I bet that bothers you. It bothers me too when I'm listening to a podcast and it's like, okay, wrap it up.
Okay, wrap it up. Please stop. Tell them. Go. I'm saying this. I don't want to hear a 20-minute story. Well, let me tell you my entire story. Okay, now I have to ask the next question. But that's podcasting, and I don't know where the heck that comes from, but it's got to stop. Got to look at, I think we need to train podcasters more on the art, have the ability to train them in the art of journalism, because guess what? It's in performance, because they just, okay, I'm just going to ask a question and sit there for 20 minutes. No, that's not interesting for anybody. All right, Jen,
no,
question.
Agreed. There's no momentum in it, but I mean, a lot of them have really well-rated podcasts, and even though they drone on and on, for me, it's like, where do you find the happy medium? How do you find the happy medium between traditional radio and how you communicate on a commercial radio station and a podcast? I mean, how do you make it to where it sounds kind of like that really magical hour at a party back when you put parties? Where like everybody's in the kitchen, like all the cool people are hanging out in the kitchen, and everyone's kind of swapping stories and cracking up, and how do you get to that point? That to me is like the perfect middle ground between a podcast and a radio show.
Well, the sweet spot, I think, is the balance, and that's the part that everybody tries to get to. And that's for everything. And let me find the balance in this. Can you give us one gratitude moment that you've had in your journey so far?
I mean, for me, the biggest, I'll get choked up. I'm an easy cry, you guys. But for me, like the most important moment of my entire life is actually on YouTube. It is the moment that Gordon Ramsay handed me my apron, because I was really in a bad way. I mean, I was really going to be on the streets with my little 2-year-old boy in LA, which is very scary. And he gave me the most important opportunity of my life. And it's I don't know how many people get the chance to have their life changed by an icon, one, but to also have it recorded. Because for me, anytime that I'm feeling down, or I'm feeling like I'm not getting where I need to fast enough, I just watch that video, and it grounds me and it humbles me, and it keeps me going. So for me, that's the most important moment of my entire life, with the exception of having my little boy, because it changed everything, the way I behave, the way I perceive problems, and how I had decided to spend my life, the rest of my life.
And I think from there, I think too, but I think that's an amazing, amazing legacy you're leaving for your son too, right? That will be there forever, right? And so he got to see the example, even though he was 2 years old, he sees the example you paid forward, like in life, right, overall, and that success. I think that's an amazing gratitude moment. And, I'm so proud of you and so excited for what you've done and where you've come. I have one other question I want to ask you. So, because I'm really about the young, and, so you also coached or you judged on the what's the cooking show? For the young chefs.
Junior. Oh my gosh.
How was that?
It was heartbreaking. Okay. You have never sweated it out until you have to chop an 8-year-old.
Oh yeah.
It came out real weird, but you know what I mean? These 8-year-olds are so passionate, when you're a little kid and you're like, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. And you're so into it. And I mean, they were so cute. They had like little stepping stools. They could barely reach the counter. Like one of them was doing sous vide. I mean, like, do you even know what sous vide was when you were 8 years old? It's just crazy pants, these little kids. And then, I had to chop them and it was the worst.
Oh,
because
no.
cried and I cried, but it's like I told them, sometimes not getting what you want can be the biggest gift of all.
Exactly.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So Jen, we're kind of wrapping things up. So what questions the last question you have for Monti?
Monty, where can they find you? Can you give us your social media handles?
Well, you can find me on all social media at the Monti Carlo, THE, like the word Monti Carlo. I just got 500,000 on my Facebook fan page.
All
So
right.
I'm stoked. I hope Facebook isn't on its last legs because
It's definitely not. No, I think that we're just in a nice revolution of social media with just how things are going. They're going to have their own audio app on Instagram, so don't worry. It's not.
I really have to talk to you more about that. I really need to.
Yeah, I'm interested. We definitely have to talk offline about it for sure.
Yeah, totally. And then and I have a website. Thanks for even knowing what it is. But it's islandgirlcooks.com, and it's all of my favorite, Puerto Rican recipes, and some of them are mashed with traditional American mainland favorites. And I always say like mainland America because people forget that Puerto Rico is part of America, So it's always important to me to, remind people like we're American, we're part of this, we're in it together. So yeah, that's my place where I go and put together some really, hopefully, super cool recipes. I haven't had any complaints yet.
What latest projects do you have coming up, Monti?
Well, I have a couple of shows coming down the pike. We are in pre-production right now, just waiting for, all of this kind of to slow down a little bit with COVID so we can start shooting again. I don't know if you guys have shot anything during COVID. It is bananas.
I've never left my house hardly at all. So, and it's weird.
It is so scary because, when you're talent, like you're the only person that doesn't have a mask on. And, they like these poor makeup girls like spent 2 hours trying to make me look like I'm in my 30s again. And then, they put the mask on and then you take it off and it looks like I ate like a baby. It just looks like crazy. Like there's red lipstick everywhere. It's so bananas. Yeah, but I have a couple of TV projects coming up that I'm excited about, and I'm working on my a narrative cookbook called My Spanglish Kitchen, which I'm excited about.
Wow, a lot of great projects. Let's definitely have things going. Jen, close it out. What a great guest for sure. Awesome at how we connected, Monti, and it's just like wow, all of us gelled in this interview. It's very nice. Go ahead, Jen, to finish up.
Oh, there's something about the islands, but there's definitely something about Puerto Rico, and maybe it's just living in Florida that we have such a great influence here. But there's something about it that makes you feel like you're home. It's that island vibe I think most everyone on the planet connects in with gratitude. And today we've had the absolute pleasure sitting down with Monti Carlo, just Food Network extraordinaire. I'm so proud of you. You are a mother of gratitude if I've ever seen one. To be able to connect on that level is awesome. And for everyone that's listening, go see all of her stuff. Go on Food Network. Go binge her shows. Island Girl Cooks. I mean, I can't wait to actually make the coconut oatmeal for my little girl when she comes home.
Jen, that's so generous. Thank you so much. That was really beautiful. I appreciate that very much. I didn't realize you were in Florida. I'm jealous. I miss Florida.
Yeah, I'm in Tampa.
Oh my gosh. I lived in Tampa. I lived by Ybor City. Anyway.
Thank you. Thank you. And I'm Jennifer, Mother of Gratitude. You've been listening to the Gratitude Radio Network. Thank you, Pearl. Thank you, Neil. Thank you,
You're welcome.
Monty. And for everyone that's listening, remember, you are blessed, you are loved, and you are sacred. Mwah. I love you. Have a beautiful day.
Bye, guys.